Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Grant Venerable joining us here, our doctor, our professor, our physicist, our chemist. He's an artist. He's a consultant. He wears many titles, but he's just an amazing, kind soul who really is very knowledgeable in all fields. And we're excited that he's joining us today to talk more about his work, his life, and how he continues to help so many. So, Dr. Venerable, welcome back to the show. And again, we always wanted to say congratulations on being our professional of the year.
Thank you, Jill Nicolini.
Thank you.
Happy
Wow.
to be here.
How may we be of service today? Let people know a little bit about yourself.
Well, I thought it would be useful to start with my memoir, my personal story, because I hadn't done some of the basic introductions in there, and I think that would help give the background that you're asking for.
Absolutely.
And the title of this 4-volume, 4 ebooks is Footprints in the Chaotic Unknown. Art, Science, Oracles, Kinfolk, a memoir. And I'm going to start really with the introduction. And it's called Our Human Chakras. Chakra is spelled capital CHAKRA. We're going to do this in the style of traditional literary communities. And I had the great good fortune, as I mentioned a few times on this program, that in the 1980s, I had moved to the Sonoma Valley, which is a thriving literary, artistic community. People such as Julia Child have lived there. They've done their broadcasts from there. Maya Angelou, Jack London from way back in the 1800s. And I moved there in 1881. And I want to just give some excerpts from this introduction on the 7 chakras. Because I use a lot of the terminologies in my podcasts. And here's where they come from. As background, I'm going to read this. This is Sonoma Valley style. The Sonoma Valley Historical Society had a group of authors that met and probably still meet once a month in one of the local club centers on the Sonoma Plaza in the center of the town. And people come together and they give readings of articles they haven't even published yet, or books they haven't published, or articles they have published. And so I would get practice in my book on the paradox of the Silicon Savior, and I would read it to the people there. So I would do this as a reading with some of my own personal commentaries as we get through the chakras.
For sure. I'm excited. Is it true we have 7 main chakras, but there's also like hundreds, right, that we don't talk about?
Seven chakras is what's traditionally spoken of in Eastern philosophy. And it's the view of many Eastern philosophical traditions about the principal energy centers of the body through which our human energies flow continually. They are called chakras. And they've been popularized by many people, including Carolyn Myss, that's capital MYSS, in her Anatomy of the Soul book, which came out in 1996.
Wow.
Associated with the spinal column, our human energies flow from the lower to the upper chakras and back again in order to maintain optimum health and life function. Blocked chakras are associated with imbalance, leading to the onset of disease, mishaps, and unhappiness. Chakras remain open, clear, and free of blocks depending upon our attitudes, mindsets, and actions toward what really matters in life and what does not matter. Now, just stop me if you have any questions or if you want to open up the phone lines for people to ask questions about these terminologies. I know you have a telephone number.
Oh my
to
goodness. Absolutely. We are going to open those lines right now.
give out.
631-307-4010. That's 631-307-4010. Please give us a call. Absolutely. Grant Venerable here on the line, and you can ask him anything, right? Nothing's off limits.
Right. Right.
Go for it. Go for it. Go ahead.
My ancestors survived by somehow applying this principle of chakras in their family unity and cooperative support systems. Vital priority was the happiness, health, and well-being of the children. In the chakra structure adopted here, there are 7 chakras situated upwards from the tailbone to the top of the cranium, up here, up top.
Okay.
Now, chakra 1 is the tribal or root chakra. Namely, it's the life platform of the individual, and its color is red in the chakra chart. And it orders the material aspects of our existence, our physical body, procreation, food sustenance, money, clothing, language, information, housing, and other vital resources of existence. Situated at the base of the spinal column, it represents our life foundation offered by the tribe, namely family, affinity community, religious affiliation of an infant's birth. It has the capacity to ground children and adults in the earth dimension where they live. One of its primary intentions, of course, is to fulfill the infant child's most basic instinctual needs of safety and security, affection and esteem, and a limited sense of power and control over its life circumstances. In so functioning, the tribe also provides its historic values and shared beliefs concerning ethics, morality, and survival strategies. Now, chakra 2, the relationship forming or sacral gonadal chakra, is the sexual chakra represented by the color orange. This is the source of what the ancients called the Kundalini vital fire. In the Greek, that's equivalent to the word eros. This is the root of our life energy. It is the ignition system that activates the upper lying chakras. It allows us to be more open to people and new experiences. That's a key one. Openness flows out of that sexual chakra. Physically situated in the genital region, it provides our sexual definition in both its physical and, all importantly, its essential spiritual, non-physical dimensions. Ironically, this chakra has little to do with physical sex, except where this chakric essence is allowed to intrude upon rather than enhance the spiritual plane of being. As pure essence, this energy center generates the instinctual drive toward completeness and reciprocity with the cosmos through our fellow beings, kindred, pets, friends, spouses, co-workers, professional colleagues, and soul partners. Clothing, personal status, rules, and titles often act as the ego mask, M-A-S-K mask, to be discussed later. That can obscure the authentic self and block the flow of the vital fire life energy as it moves up and down the spinal column to awaken the upper chakras. Now, chakra 3, the solar plexus, is the social chakra, symbolized by the color yellow. Situated near the navel, it is the seat of one's personhood. It is the residence of the healthy ego and social self, and the seat of our feelings around the idea of dualism and the self-other interface. It enables our sense of self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem. It coordinates our sense of confidence and control over our lives in the material and socio-cultural environment in which we live. I have little doubt that my ancestor, Harry Scott, whom I speak about in chapter 20 of this memoir, Harry Scott reinforced this self-other interfacial chakra quality in her descendants because of her distinctive character. And this is a good thing, because when blocked, one is at risk of losing all in the seductive drive for social status and power and control over others. This has become the primary crisis of the age of internet technology, where organizations, whether corporate, governmental, military, religious, or educational, behave more like objectively unfeeling computers than people. Chakra 4, the heart chakra, the emotional connection. The color is green. Facilitates our ability to connect with another living being, human and other, whether pets, plants, or ecosystems, and to feel love, joy, and inner peace. And I could add the ability of plants, the ability of parents, like my father, to prioritize connection with children over career. And more recently, the millions of salt of the earth parents exemplified by the baseball player Adam LaRoche, who also opt for connection with their children over fame and fortune, to the consternation of corporate management's singular craving for material wealth and competitive success. And it isn't that making a profit is wrong, it is how it is done that reveals whether the heart chakra is open or blocked. Openness leads to health and fulfillment. Blockage leads to imbalance, illness, depression, and unforeseen consequences like accidents. This is not a moral judgment. It is simply a statement of how chacric principle operates. So all of these ideas run throughout my memoir, which is why I give it here in the introduction. Chakra 5, the human will, or throat chakra, intellect as harmonious interplay of the emotional with the rational, is the blue chakra. Here we find the seat of our ability to reason, communicate, express, and seek truth with compassion. This takes us beyond mere mastery of limiting logical systems, especially artificial, human-made artifices like machines, appliances, organizational policies and procedures, and legalistic covenants. Such logics are unable to step outside of their own boundaries, to look back at themselves in relationship to the whole, the WHOLE, whole. The throat chakra leads us through the portal of wholeness into the big picture of interconnected relational reality. Here we see how everything connects to everything else. We see how to connect the dots within and between the visible material and the invisible spiritual dimensions of life. And chakra 6 is the universal mind or third eye chakra. This is the higher spiritually connected form of intellect, symbolized by the color indigo. Located in the eyebrow region, between and above our two physical eyes, the third eye creates unity as a harmonious synthesis of the divine, the invisible quantum, and the physical material, the empirical atomic realms. Development of the third eye indigo awareness results in heightened intuition, imagination, and wisdom. It is the quiet inner voice that speaks to us in unexpected moments, that tells us to do something in the moment while we are thinking of it. It was the video that spoke to Moses in his encounter with the burning bush, and to chemist Linus Pauling in his reputed dream encounter with the helical structure of protein that was such an embarrassment to his scientific ego that he never spoke about it publicly. It was Saul getting blinded by the light on the road to Damascus and becoming Paul, the apostle. It was Martin Luther's inspiration to write and nail his 95 theses on the door of the Wittenberg Castle Church, and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s motivation to write his Easter Day letter from the Birmingham, Alabama jail. It was Harriet Tubman's inner directive that guided her to lead hundreds of slaves to freedom on the Underground Railroad, and my mother's premonition of an early death, an intuitive sense that made her ignore her doctor's advice not to bear all three of her children, but stop after the first one to extend her life. And of course, she went on and had three, and she lived out her full 34 years of existence. Now, chakra 7, the crown chakra, is the spiritual chakra, and its color is violet. Now, when I give these colors, these are colors that people actually see in auras over other people, over their heads, and they see it.
Wow. Different colors can be seen. Is it all the same colors on each person, or is it different? Grant? Oh, we lost you for a second. The lines are open, 631-307-4010. If anyone's there, please give us a call. Go ahead. You just broke up for a quick second there, Grant. Go ahead.
These universal cosmic energies resulting in a recognition of the unity and beauty of all inner and outer worlds, and connection to spirituality and pure bliss. All inspired visual and performing artists, musical composers, poets, and literary figures have experienced this. Now comes divinest weirdness. When the vital fire moves upward from the lower chakras and activates this author's chakras, my imagination reveals atoms dancing on indigo waters. So guess what my art looks like? Atoms dancing on indigo spaces that look like waters. Moreover, atoms dance on indigo waters whenever I perform music or paint a canvas, and whenever significant transformation occurs in human existence. The key to the great cosmic mysteries is embodied in the meaning of the indigo chakra. And Alvin Nikolai, who was born in 1910, died in 1993, spoke of his ballet choreography as de-emphasizing the motions of individual dancers and emphasizing their unified movement. In this way, the dancers reveal the dynamic dancing motions of atoms and the intriguing psychedelic colors of their emission spectra. Now, I had interviewed Alvin Nikolai at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts back in around 1985, I believe it was. And the interview was really, he was sitting on the stage of one of the smaller theaters at the Kennedy Center. And we had a conversation about how the chemical physics applied to the motion and the colors of his dancer, the colors generated in the audience in their imaginations. So this was truly an exciting motion. While Nikolai spoke about his ballet genre reflecting the color and sound of atoms dancing, I gave response on the chemical physics of the interactions and spectra of atoms and molecules. And then that leads into the real world application of this brief background on the chakras, the energy system. So all the rest of the book sits on that platform of words that the chakra material introduces. And that's where I talk about speculations on the soul, what that's about, what people think it may be about. But the peoples of the earth have long envisioned a light energy quantum center that I view as a complex photon that's a particle of light. In traditions around the world, this enduring light quantum is referred to as the soul. So how's that for you, Jill?
Oh my goodness, that is deep. That is deep.
Asking about that one. Where do we go after this life is finished? And I think that's where the quantum energy comes into play, and it carries all of our important experiences from this incarnation and our current lives and carries it to the next. So that certainly has affected my viewing of the universe and how I view my life and how I view the question, do I trust life? So that's the introduction to the chakras.
I gotta ask.
And that precedes. Yes.
Oh, no. Let me ask you. Like when it comes to the chakras, how Do you cleanse them? How do you energetically balance them? Is that something you do?
Oh boy, you've asked the billion-dollar question, because that is exactly what people are sent
Wow.
into this life to do,
Yeah.
is to cleanse those chakra centers
Uh-huh.
and not to clutter them up with uh, impure thoughts and um, let me I'll be right back. I have to speak to these kitties.
Go
Hold
ahead, go
on.
for it. No problem. In the meantime,
Okay.
we are going to open the lines again. 631-307-4010. That's 307-4010. And yeah, the lines are open. 631-307-4010. And we had our friend Dr. Grant Venerable just step away. He'll be right back. And okay, here he is. He's joining us. Oh,
Here he is.
oh my goodness.
The this is out of my volume one, and there's a few paintings in there
Got
that
it.
track the ideas about the chakras.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
the painting
goodness.
on page 49 is on serotonin, which is
Oh,
one of the neuroreceptor molecules that courses through the bloodstream.
okay.
And serotonin is involved in perception,
Okay.
mood regulation, and feelings of pain and or pleasure.
Yeah.
So when
Oh, hi.
the
Welcome to the
chakras are
show.
out of
Hello,
balance,
hello.
Yeah, hello.
Oh,
How you doing?
hi.
Evening.
You're live on the line. What is your name, sir?
Yeah, hi, my name is Brian.
Hi, Brian. Welcome to the show. You are on live here with Dr. Grant Venerable, who is, oh my goodness, amazing physicist, chemist, doctor, author, and he's joining us today discussing all 7 chakras on our body. So I assume that's what you're calling about. Any question, it could be about chakras or about anything in general. He's very knowledgeable. So what is your question?
I was just listening, and I have really bad lower pain in my back, and I think it's from running. I've run like 1,000 miles this year, and just trying to figure out what I could do about that, what's causing it, and what I could do about it.
Did you hear what he said, Grant?
no, specifically what to do about what?
Was it back pain, sir?
Yeah, lower back pain.
Lower back pain. Could that be affected with one of his
Ah,
chakras? Is that something that can be worked on?
wow. Yeah, I'm imagining so. I have had back issues since I was a young man in my 20s and 30s, but it was a direct result of the stresses that I had put on my life. And they were mainly mental, intellectual stresses. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't physical. I wasn't carrying around heavy objects, but I had a great challenge to teach chemistry for the first time at the college level. A
Oh.
great deal of preparation of lectures that I hadn't done before, time schedules to meet. And then I rode a 10-speed uh, bicycle from my house in the country 3 miles out from the Cal Poly San Luis Obispo
Mm-hmm.
campus. And I think the bicycle stressed my back somewhat
Okay.
because you're there bent over those handlebars. And I had some pretty severe back pains, and I would just have to get on my back and
Wow.
I think take a couple of aspirin. But it really meant finding more balance in my life among all of my 7 chakras. And what it means is looking at what those chakras symbolize and begin to look at the life experiences
Yeah.
that related directly to this chakras. So one of the experiences I used to balance my chakras was
Mm-hmm.
music and to practice the piano
Okay.
and to learn new pieces. I was learning some
Yeah.
uh, J.S. Bach pieces. But I also kept up my swimming, which helped to keep the spinal column flexible and nimble. But it also meant, in terms of the intellect, uh, not getting too deeply involved in the more the chakra two, I think it is, the social.
Mm-hmm.
No, not two. Well, maybe two to some extent,
Okay.
because two has to do with being open to new experiences. So I was opening myself to new experiences of life, like taking a dance class on the campus, a class in Middle Eastern dancing. Colloquially, Americans call that belly dancing, but it keeps the body so flexible and fluid. So all those things work together. The chakra 3, the solar plexus, is the seat of one's sense of personhood, one's uh, existence in the pecking order in the community. And if one is feeling stressed out over one's position in the community, that can lead to pressures on the spinal column and feed right into the brain, and it causes pain. Brian, does that start to say anything? Maybe he's
It
off
does.
both areas.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, it does.
Yeah, okay, there you are. Okay. But college teaching for me was very new. That was 1972. I can't believe it. But being open meant also being open to what made the students interested in their college experience, not just the course they were taking, but how they wanted to use their courses when they graduated, and how to help, college balance their everyday lives. So I think all of that helped me really limber up in my first year of teaching, and I didn't have the stresses that I had at the start of the year, and they just kind of went away.
Yeah.
So looking at the any other questions there?
Anything else, Brian, you'd like to add?
I think I'm okay. I think I got what I need. I appreciate it, Doc.
Can you send him? Do you do Reiki, Doc? Do you do any of that? Any energy healing? Could you send him some vibes? Or that's not what you do?
Well, I did. Part of my openness is something that has plagued especially male adults in the American world. A little less so in California, where men come up in communities where they're offered different options. And one is group therapy or individual therapy or processes, what we call group process, where there's more sharing of what issues we're struggling against, what pains that we're having. So that helped me greatly. That's when I began regular, I guess they call it psychotherapy. And California was a center, particularly on the coast regions around Big Sur on Highway 1. And then in the town of Palo Alto, a lot of therapists lived there. A lot of people getting over group issues. I mean, there were a number of Jewish professional people in the Palo Alto area, the peninsula area, and the mother of one of my students helped people who were Holocaust survivors and found their way to America. And so one was herself, the other was her mother. And so she looked at the ways that the Holocaust, if left unprocessed, could bury deeply inside the cells of the body and cause problems in the nervous system. And as she worked with clients in the Palo Alto area, and with a process she developed called telling our story. And that's what my memoir really is my recitation of my own personal stories. It's a lengthy recitation, but it's very interesting. And that involved many significant people who had influenced my life. I talked about, I think, some of that last week. I had mentors who went all the way from Nobel Prize winners in chemistry to artists, painters, musicians, psychologists, therapists, and colleagues who were also teachers. So, and this volume one is rich in those kinds of examples. Okay. It also introduces next, which I won't spend any time on here, but they're in the book and they're called brainwave states. And there's about 4 of them: alpha, the alpha state, the beta state. I think the beta is the normal state, but then after alpha comes theta, and then delta is about the only other one that people have to deal with. Delta is where the brain is so slowed down and relaxed, and it's at a very low frequency, and that's where healing occurs.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the night when in sleep one gets into the delta state, things that need healing start to get healed, or problems one is grappling with start to solve themselves.
Yeah.
But anyway, meditation comes in around the alpha state, closed eye meditation processes, which I've been through many, but all of them have to do with developing wholeness, whole minds, whole bodies, whole souls, if I could call it that. And then the next chapter gets into how my family heritage relates to the chakra states and getting into all that. So early in that chapter is a photograph. It's two black and white photographs. One shows me as a 1.5-year-old, just beyond babyhood, little guy in Los Angeles, West Side, just maybe a mile west of the University of Southern California campus, where we lived with my grandmother and my paternal grandmother. Then the picture right below that is I'm 20 years older, and I'm a senior or a junior at UCLA. And but it's interesting how those two individuals tie in together, and that the little baby picture, if one manages to stay healthy and productive, that little child stays alive in one's being for the rest of their lives. So what else do we have, Jill? I'm looking at these photographs of my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather. But I'm also, see, all their names were Venerable and Venable. And one of probably the most famous Venable descendant that ever lived was named Abraham Lincoln. And his mother, her maiden name was Venable. And she was born, back, I think, in the late 1700s. And then she had little baby Abe around 1809. So supposedly we share genetics with Abe Lincoln. And then there were other famous Venables from the state of Virginia, and the Carolinas, and Georgia. And they were all very adept academic professors in the universities way back in the 1800s. And they tended to be chemistry professors, mathematics professors, and physics professors. So I guess I picked up some of those genes. Now, where does this all take us? This takes us through the remainder of the book. Chapter 3, after introducing things of life in chapter 2, some of the national events taking place, because there was a war going on in my infancy, and it was I came about probably just a couple of weeks after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Chapter 4 is really on my childhood, and it has many life-changing events in it. It talks about my parents and my mother's work in the PTA. In those days, most middle class, upper middle class mothers stayed at home and took care of the children and took care of the house. And I'm grateful my mother did that, but she did have outside activities that the very wise women in her social circles would do. They belonged to civic organizations, and that gave them projects outside the house. For my mother, it was the PTA, where she was the treasurer of the PTA. That's no accident. She had a degree in bookkeeping from LA City College. And then she belonged to an organization that concerned itself with the well-being of exceptional children. There's another name for that now, but it's the same kind of thing, where children that had special issues, they could be dealt with successfully. So this moves up through my life in going through elementary school. Comparing that to how schools are today is quite challenging and amazing. Namely, I go through the news feeds every morning and every evening to keep up with what's going on in the country and what government agencies are doing at the federal, state levels, local levels. And now there's a raging debate at the federal level on how we should educate, and shouldn't we have the government should be in charge of the curriculum. Now, some of my other work in higher education tells me that's something that government never gets into, but there's elements inside that are trying to do that. They're looking and saying, well, this doesn't agree with our political beliefs, so we don't think the school should teach this. It makes children too much one thing or another way. But there's an old rule that started coming about 4,000 years ago, because the first discipline, the first profession, was not where we had women who took care of men's needs and paid money for it. There was another profession, but people today are not that aware. The earliest profession was teaching and learning. It was education. And that was the most important profession of all, starting out at the kindergarten, moving up through the grades, moving up through college, moving up through graduate school, moving up through medical school, law school, dental school, other kinds of schools. But now the rules are kind of being upset, which I'm looking at to see how to help us avoid upsetting those rules. The court is not respecting that any longer. If you look at the Supreme Court, they're going along with decisions that Congress is making and the presidency is making, which they should not. And there's many court presidents, Supreme Court, that's saying this is a technical area that we have no right to engage in and debate and pass down rules about. They're not talking about that, but I'm beginning to write about that. So that may be my next book, is why it's not a good idea for the courts to get in on telling teachers what to teach and what not to teach.
Wow.
It's the same as if the court decided, well, we don't know, we don't like the way brain surgeons are doing brain surgery. So they never get involved with making laws governing how brain surgery should or should not be carried out, or dentistry. And learning and teaching is another profession that works exactly the same way. The people who run that profession are highly trained. I'm highly trained. And it took me 10 and a half years. Well, yeah, it took me 10 and a half years to get my credentials.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was just the college level. No, I had 12 grades, 12 years of grade school plus kindergarten. So that's 12 plus 10 or 11. So we're talking like 22 years of getting ready for a profession and teaching and doing research to learn how knowledge is discovered. So what do you think about all that, Jill? Well, we're coming near time, so I want to put a nice bow ribbon on all of what we talked about today. So, well, I think out here in the desert, it's a little cooler today. Yesterday it got up to 111 degrees. And let me make sure.
Hello. 631-307-4010. Do we have a caller? Hello. So sorry, thought we had someone. Continue. Go ahead about the hot weather.
and that's when you have breezes and it's in the 90s, at least the breeze cools you down a little, but when the breeze itself is well over 100 degrees, you can feel that. And it's different from it if the air is dry or if the air is humid. So the humid air just really feels hotter than it really is. So I swam yesterday. Of course, the water in the pool is maybe it's about 80 degrees. So that's about a 30-degree difference. So the water still feels cold when you first get in. Once you swim a few laps, and it feels warm. So the book, each volume addresses a different stage in my existence. So basically, volume 1 is about this author's education up through the college level, through starting chemistry. And then volume 2 finishes up with graduation with a bachelor's degree in chemistry, plus personal accounts of what it was like taking classes. And sometimes people may think that's boring, but this is anything but boring because so much happened, and I reported on it, and in a very personalized way, things that were I enjoyed and things that were disappointing. And I reported on all of it and how I found my way through things that were did not go as well as I wanted to. But that's how I developed better and better ways of learning advanced mathematics and the physics I had to do to get a chemistry PhD degree. So, volume 2 is almost all on graduate school and what was happening in the rest of the country during graduate school. And that was back in a period they called the 60s. And there was a war going on in the 60s and a whole lot of social justice issues. There were protests on campus, but yet I've heard students quoted these days about protests back east, especially back east. And yet my contemporaries today remember the protests were far more severe back in the 60s and the 50s than they are today. So that's interesting.
Well, everything is, I got to thank my caller for calling in today, Brian. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Dr. Venerable, I appreciate the conversation. Unfortunately, we do have to go. How can we contact you? Would you mind sharing?
Well, look at the grant, I think it's Grant D. Venerable PhD, all lower caps, all lowercase, and no periods.
Yeah.
But it's grantdvenerablephd.com. And that brings up Grant D. Venerable's website. And that gives you a whole lot of contact information and a whole lot. It gives the milestones of my existence on a page, plus some videos on some talks that I have given in other venues that are very interesting to me, even. So that's where you get the whole story.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. We love talking about this. Glad we get to talk more about energy, healing, and chakras with you too. I never thought we were into this, but we're on past lives. We're into what happens when we die. We talk about everything.
Right.
Nothing uncovered. Too sensitive for the show.
Right.
Well, thank you so much again for being here. And I want to wish you a happy and amazing rest of your week. Happy almost end of summer. And we'll connect next week. Thank you so much, Grant.
Okay. And
Gotta run.
you too, Jill.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Grant. Bye-bye, hon.
Okay.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.